with Truth here, and welcome back to Otaku Evolution. Took a bit of a break, but I'm charged up for more of this stupid little review show nobody watches. I guess. I like anime where the characters have distinguishable and specific superpowers, like the contractor abilities in Darker Than Black, or the quirks in My Hero Academia. Even a little more, shall we say, offbeat versions of that, like the stands in JoJo's, are really neat. The subject of this video is a bit like these, though slightly different, as they're all considered esper powers. I'm talking, of course, of the 12-episode TV series from 2014, Tokyo ESP. High school student Rinka Urushiba finds herself suddenly phasing through solid objects without any idea how to control her abilities. She recalls that this started one day when she saw a flying penguin and glowing floating fish, and one of the fish flew into her, giving her her power. She's helped by a teleporter named Kyotoro Hazama, who likes to stop crime as the eccentric crowhead. But there's an uptick in ESPer-related crimes in Tokyo, inspired by a group led by a man known as the Professor.
Professor and Mary Ann, here on Diligent Time.
I mean this professor, Kyotoro's adoptive father, and the guy whose power is creating illusions so real that the mind convinces itself that they are. He's assisted by Minami, Kyotoro's adoptive sister, and also a teleporter, and a cadre of other troublemakers. His plan is to create as many espers as he can, which he does via the glowing fish, which came from the Ark of the Covenant. I am not kidding you. Apparently in the world of Tokyo ESP, the Ark of the Covenant is not only a real thing, but gives people superpowers. Instead of, this. You have to credit the author of the manga this is based on, Hajime Sagawa, for coming up with this plot point. It's pretty inventive. Though the series doesn't go into Jewish, mythology? Is that too insulting? Legends? It doesn't go into scripture or anything like that. They just flash back to the professor's research team discovering the Ark and getting gunned down by the local warlord who wants it as his weapon. A lot of Japanese working on finding the Ark, are there? Huh. Well, I guess it takes all types. At least the Ark didn't end up at the Hobby Lobby Museum. Rinka is joined by a group of others in a crusade against the bad espers, including her father, who can control a powerful magnetic field, Kabushi Kuroi, known as the Black Fist, an esper who can become invisible and loves to fight, Murasaki Eduyama, the daughter of a Yakuza boss whose ability is to experience an object's past by touching it and learn the skill of the past user, and Ayumu Uzura, son of an anti-esper politician and possessor of precognition. He has a particular pet peeve, too.
Yeah, poor little guy. And that afro.
Bastard. Do you want to repeat what you just said about my hair?
It's not an afro! It's just naturally curly!
Oh, and also there's that flying penguin, Peggy, whose diet includes the floating powers fish. This means he can take away esper powers.
You evil little son of a bitch! What the hell did you do to me?
Rinka is at one point trained by an old acquaintance and former teacher of her father, Master Roshi?
Bouncy, 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 bouncy.
Now, this Roshi is a little guy who's always in a panda costume and seems to have some kind of clairvoyance. He's kind of a creepy old guy, so I guess he's a bit like the turtle hermit. What's with the excess of these kinds of guys in manga and anime, by the way? Just dirty old men from floor to ceiling. It's a little off-putting. Here, to keep you from being upset, here's more Peggy. Naturally, with all these superpowered people popping up, the government is terribly unhappy and concerned about being overrun with unstoppable beings. So they decide that espers, no matter what their personality, are a threat, and start rounding them up the best they can to keep them from making trouble. This includes Rinka too, who probably regrets not hiding her identity better. Actually, that's the second time she probably regrets it. And really, there's not a whole lot to talk about with this series. It's a pretty straightforward superpowered action series with little thematic meat. There is the notion that miracles are real that permeates the show, which is applied both to the superpowers and just regular life in general. Kind of contradictory, though, since if everything is a miracle, nothing is. But I kind of get what they were going for. What I really enjoyed was seeing the relationships between the characters change and evolve over the scant 12 episodes, like Rinka's kind of friendship with the Black Fist girl. They start out as nemesis, but after being saved by Rinka's dad, Kuroi starts to come around to our hero's ways, and assists her in taking on the professor.
Seriously, just watching you practice even pisses me off.
I've seen a lot of people come around who think the same way you do. The ones who always think it's best to avoid a fight. And then by the time they embrace it as an option, it's practically too late.
Most people are like that.
That kind of thinking's gonna get you straight up killed next time. Do this for real, or walk away.
The series' major downside is its sudden ending, which in the manga was simply the end of a story arc. New main characters were introduced in the next arc, but eventually Rinka reappeared as a main character in the second part. But in the anime, that's just the end of the story. Everything comes to a head with the professor unleashing more and more of the powers fish in order to attract a certain element to him, and Rinka and Kyotoro have one last confrontation with him, only for characters we never saw before pop up, and, well, I won't give away the whole thing, but it's frustrating, because there's never been a second season, so we never got a follow-up on this. But when there's something weird, and it don't look good, who you gonna call? These guys.
I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
You can tell I'm kind of just skipping around casually with this review. Just like the show, I wanted to have some simple, maybe not rewarding, but harmless fun. And that's what Tokyo ESP is in the end. Unpretentious, uncomplicated, and yet still somewhat compelling. I ended up wanting to see more of these superpowered people fight it out in a world that hates and fears them. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. And that's fine. It's just a neat little show that will never make my favorites list, but will never fail to make me smile. And come on! A flying penguin! Well, that was a short one, wasn't it? Much like Tokyo ESP. But next time on Otaku Evolution promises to be a little heavier, as we take a look at a movie about World War II. Sort of. Until then, this is Mike, Penguin Truth. Please like, subscribe, and contribute to the Patreon. See ya!
Hey, my ticket to Easy Street!
No, it's not a bad movie. It's just that it's a little too jargon heavy, Gendo gets off too easily, and Mari's still a non-character. It feels like the movie was more of a crowd pleaser than a conclusion that naturally flows from the narrative. That's another thing. The whole message of Evangelion is don't run away. But what does Shinji do at the end of the movie? He runs away again. Oh, and don't get me started on the awful CG. Just embarrassing CG. I would be embarrassed to show parts of this movie to my friends. Anyway, the TV series in EOE is superior to the rebuild movies. I just hope G-Kids doesn't let us down on that front. Oh, right. That's why you called, isn't it? How'd we get onto Thrice Upon a Time?